Hello everyone, this is Valkrin and welcome to my guide to patch 3.12. In this video, I'll be going into detail about the champion changes, the items, and the upcoming champion Jinx. Here's my tier list. I use this to quickly explain where I think certain champions are in the current patch. Katarina is in a very interesting place right now because her ultimate just got buffed, the AP ratio and the AD ratio got buffed. So now there's going to be more than one play to play Katarina. You can go back to the Gunblade Katarina, or you can go to a much more deep AP style build of Katarina. The delay on her ultimate cast time was removed, so now her ultimate feels more fluid. Right now Katarina is in a really good place in solo queue. The only problem is she has a lot of bad matchups mid lane, and there are a lot of champions that are currently really popular that beat Katarina in terms of team fight crowd control. So Katarina is an excellent pick if you can fit her into a team composition and also make sure you don't get a bad matchup mid. The Lucian changes are a step in the right direction. They're buffing Lucian's mana regen. The only problem is that Lucian's ability mana to damage ratios are very out of proportion. Lucian's strength lies in the fact that he can kite, and his passive is very, very strong for scaling into late game. His weaknesses are his mana cost and how weak his ultimate is. Currently his ultimate's just not where it needs to be in terms of ultimate strength. So where they need to put Lucian in terms of his power, he needs to have his mana cost lowered, and he needs to have his ultimate changed slightly so that it's more feasible and useful in team fights, or rather than just have it at all. The Olaf changes were something that I wanted to really like, but they kind of put Olaf in a really weird place right now. Olaf scales very, very well with AD, but he's going to be very lacking if you don't build him tanky. And the way his ultimate works now is that if you activate his ultimate, you lose the passive armor and magic resist, making him more squishy, but you get more bonus AD. They're trying to make Olaf more of a berserker, give that berserker feel where you're giving up survivability for damage, but that really just doesn't work with most League of Legends champions. I mean, you can't really get away with that on most melee champions that don't have gap closers. So Olaf's is in an interesting place. I mean, like I said, you can do really well in scaling if you go AD, but you're going to be missing out on a lot of survivability, and you'll definitely feel that in games, even if you get ahead. So where do I think Olaf is right now? I think he's just viable. If they change one or two things about him, he'd be really great. But right now he's just, I want to play him, but he just doesn't fit into a lot of team compositions, and you can just focus him down in team fights and kill him very quickly if he goes AD. The Rise changes make him much more mobile, which is great because after the range nerf on his abilities, he needs it. But Rise isn't quite the same champion that he used to be. When Rise had all of that, I wouldn't say it was quite long range abilities, but the cast range on his abilities were much longer than they are currently. Back then he felt like a different champion. Now he's got to be closer to the targets, and that's why they're giving him movement speed. So, I mean, his kit's sort of the same. He's still strong, but he's nowhere near as strong as he used to be. The changes to Thresh put his power in, they drew back his power, so to speak. They made the cooldown on his death sentence longer, that's his hook, but they made it shorter if you actually land the death sentence. So this is rewarding actually landing your skill shot, whereas if you miss it, then it's going to be on cooldown for longer. That was definitely needed. The Flay nerf, this is pretty interesting because previously you could just auto-attack chain auto-attacks with Thresh and get the very basic minimum passive damage proc on Flay. Now you have to auto-attack and then wait a second or a very brief moment of time before you'll get that same minimum amount of damage. I think Thresh is still really strong, but these changes were definitely pretty effective. The changes, or rather nerfs, to Phage and Trinity Force were almost specifically targeted towards ranged champions. They did increase the overall cost on both these items, but they have the movement speed bonus for ranged champions. Now this is because Ezreal and Corki were already pretty mobile AD carries, and they're able to get these items and become even more mobile. So it was causing a lot of problems because there's a lot of damage in Trinity Force, and giving mobility and damage kind of is where you get power disproportion. So these nerfs are in a step in the right direction. Trinity Force is still amazing for melee champions. I think Trinity Force could receive more nerfs in the future. Noxus traps and ghouls now are worth gold. Now this is pretty cool because it adds counterplay to both Teemo and Yorick, but do they really need that amount of counterplay? Maybe Teemo, but this nerf to Yorick might be too strong. I mean, it's already, you can put a lot of farm champions against Yorick and it works out. So now that the ghouls are worth gold, if you put something top like Cho'Gath against a York, you can just farm up on these ghouls and make a lot of gold during the laning phase just by, farming the creeps and also getting the ghoul kills. For Teemo, you can put Vision Wards in the lane and take out a lot of his traps and, earn your gold back, and it also counters Teemo's passive. So I like the fact that Riot's keeping in mind that you need to have counterplay against most champions, but, these champions were already not considered overpowered or really strong. So, adding counterplay to them nerfs their power even harder. I think we're all excited about the new champion Jinx. Her kit looks really fun, and if the numbers stay the same, she's going to be really strong. So I don't really have much to say about Jinx other than the fact that if they keep her kit the same and they keep the numbers the same, then you better watch out for Jinx because she's going to be a very strong champion. If you're interested in taking lessons from me, go to the valkrin.com/lessons. You'll see a schedule tab and you can fill that out and take lessons from me. Don't forget to subscribe and follow me on my social media, and I hope you guys have a great day.